Good morning, everyone. You're probably saying, where is the preacher man? Here I am, right over here. I'm just walking around, pacing, just thinking, and at the same time as I'm thinking, I'm I'm disturbed by what I just discovered. I was just walking around, wondering, wow, we are here. We are in the end times. Jesus Christ said these things are going to happen. It's going to get bad, and it's bad. It's beyond bad. And just when I thought things are bad enough, from out of the blue, about not too long ago, this morning, I discovered an additional layer on top of this bad cake. This cake that has been carefully put together, from layer to layer, from stack to stack. And this is icing on the cake, and I'm saying to myself, okay, eventually there will be additional icings on this cake because we are not at the end yet, because Jesus Christ said that many things are going to happen that will lead us to that conclusion. But in the meantime, expect more vile chefs to come around to add on to this bad cake that we are witnessing right now. So, what am I talking about specifically? What am I trying to say in this video? Well, I just want to focus on one event, this icing on this bad cake that I just discovered this morning. According to an article by the activist Mommy, she's a Christian who I've been following on Facebook, and she just posted this article about a group of African Americans who were dressed up in black with bulletproof vests on, with loaded weapons, and these individuals were walking the streets of America like this. See that? They were all dressed in black with masks on, and they were stopping traffic, and they were just letting the world know that they also have the right to bear arms, you see. Now, before I get into that part, let me read to you what the activist Mommy had to say about this situation that took place recently. It says here, in an incident captured on video went viral this weekend, a member of an all-black armed militia group confronted the white driver of a van, explaining the philosophy behind their group, and it appears to be a far cry from Black Lives Matter. BizPac Review reports that the incident, which seems to have taken place on the 4th of July, occurred at Stone Mountain Park near Atlanta, Georgia, as members of the group held up traffic. As a smaller group of the men walked past a minivan, one of them can be heard yelling at the driver, "What the F are you laughing at?" The group of over 100 then begins shouting, "Black Power, Black Power," while not all the dialogue can be heard between the driver of the van and the members of the group who gathered around the driver's side door. You can hear one of them saying, "I am your worst nightmare. We ain't no Black Lives Matter. We ain't none of that BS," he declares. Apparently, this group doesn't think too highly of the high-profile, well-funded left-wing group behind the widespread protests which came in the wake of George Floyd's death. As we learn, however, it is not for lack of opposing perceived. No, let me get this right. As we learn, however, it is not for lack of opposing perceived white supremacy. When the man asks who are they, right, who they are, he continues, "We're Black Militia," the militia member says. We're your worst nightmare. What are you? The man asks again. I just told you what I was, the militia member replies. What are you is the question. Everywhere you go, you invade, steal, rape, rob, and killing. Then you steal people's culture and you have an attitude about it. He continued, where is our reparations? After a bit of an exchange, the white man asks, what did I do to you? Right? A little later, the black man walks away, seeming to say something about before you lose your life. BizPac Review explains that the Black Militia is led by Grandmaster Jay and it is called NFAC, which stands for Not Effing Around Coalition. I don't need to continue because the rest of this article is it's something that my digestion system within me I cannot no longer stomach this thing. In the article, the activist mommy decided to link uh, their video, the Black Militia's video, to the article, and I checked out about 5 to 10 minutes of the video. I couldn't watch the whole thing, which is about 59 minutes long. What I did is I decided to check out the very beginning of it, and the beginning of it consisted of this guy who happens to be the leader of the group, Grandmaster Jay, and he was talking to all of these African Americans. There were lots of them, ready for war, in my opinion, ready for combat. And he was telling them, listen, if you're not ready for this, get out of here. This is not about Black Lives Matter. We are not a part of them. We have nothing to do with them. We are basically a group of black people who are fed up with the white man. And if anyone points something at you, I'm paraphrasing what he's saying, don't just shoot them. You need to kill them. And then he repeated that. And I'm watching all this and I'm saying to myself, wow, this is taking place on American soil. This is actually happening in my lifetime. And I decided, instead of watching the whole video, I was just fast forwarding to different parts in the video, and I saw them walking the streets, and there were some cop cars up ahead, and he was, and I guess it was the leader who was saying, yeah, look at them, they're backing away, yeah, that's right. He was saying something like that, and he kept using profanity in his speeches as he was trying to encourage those who were there. And those who were there, they were in the hundreds. I mean, men and women dressed, ready for whatever. And it was very disturbing to me. Quite disturbing to me. Now, here's the flip side to this situation that's going on in America. There are many of you who will check out this video and you might respond to this video by saying, hey, preacher man, what about the Caucasians who recently walked around their state governments with rifles and flags in their hands? Why aren't you saying anything about them? And my response to that is this, is that those individuals, the Caucasian Americans, what they were doing was practicing their constitutional right without an axe to grind. Those were responsible, registered gun owners who came in peace. They did not come out looking like revolutionaries. They wasn't doing that. Their message is that we represent old school traditional America, which consists of the fact that for many years, for the longest time in America, it was part of the norm for people to walk around with weapons. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's actually what that Black Militia did when they were walking around with weapons. They were practicing their constitutional right. But the difference between that group, the Black Militia, and the Caucasians that you have been seeing on CNN and MSNBC, who I personally believe were misrepresented because those networks, they made them look like criminals. You know, it's funny. It's like you will hear CNN bashing these Caucasians who were practicing the constitutional right, but you won't hear a peep out of them regarding this Black Militia group. You see what I'm saying? You won't hear that. And that's what you call a double standard. So what I'm saying is that there is a big difference between these two groups. So in closing, I just want to leave you with these words. I truly believe that another civil war is around the corner between groups like the Black Militia and probably another group that might rise, who might be similar to that Black Militia group, and there might be a group from the Caucasian side who is just as gun ho. I'm trying to get my words right. I'm still disturbed, guys. That's why I can't speak right now. But what I'm trying to say is that something will spark this fire, and this fire will turn into a huge inferno in America. And when that happens, there will be a civil war between the blacks and the whites. And I'm not saying all blacks and all whites. And another thing I want to leave you guys with is that every group in America, regardless, from politics to the church, there are always bad apples in every bunch, you see. And unfortunately, these individuals from the Black Militia side, if they simply presented their position with peace instead of presenting it with racism, with hatred, then I will just back away. I mean, this video wouldn't even be made right now. But because of what I saw, which was disturbing, I felt that it was necessary for me to share that so that you guys will always keep in the back of your mind the possibility and, in my opinion, the reality of a second civil war in this country. I believe it's coming. It's inevitable. It's just a matter of time, guys. I mean, it's just like a pot that's filled with hot water, and you got both sides, unfortunately, because like I said, there are bad apples in many groups who are gradually turning up the knob on the stove, and eventually that pot will boil and spill over. And when that happens, like I said, all it would take is just one spark to start that fire from maybe the black side or the white side, but ultimately it will happen. And I believe that the powers that be want this to happen so that ultimately they will present the solutions by presenting the man of sin. This is the Preacher Man signing out. May the Lord Yeshua Mashiach bless you all and your loved ones. And in Yeshua's holy name, I say, Amen. Peace.